Okay, it's
Who else is
recording.
on his committee?
Bill
Bill
and
is on his
Tara.
way.
It's recording.
Okay. Let's try that again. You have to turn the mic on. Okay, I'd like to call the Economic Development Committee meeting to order. It is April 1st. The meeting starts at 3:30. Is there a courtesy of the floor? Seeing none, we will go right into our committee meeting discussions. The first thing on the agenda will be Northampton County fiscal year 2021 Emergency Medical Service Grant Funding. Ms. Smith, would you like to review that? The resolution is here along with the projects in the addendum, Exhibit A.
Oh, yes.
There we go. Now, okay, you can hear me now.
Thank you.
So I feel like a phone commercial. Hopefully, did everybody get the appendix with the recommendation of listing for this? So basically, you've got that in front of you. This is what we're recommending. Everybody who applied for this grant, we're recommending full funding for everybody, which would then total $104,659.36. Are there any questions on any of the specific grants?
Yes, John.
Not on any specific one yet. Could you just take us through the process, how, when the grants went out, how many came in, what factors went into your decision? It appears that we had enough money to fund everything, but can you just, take us through the process?
Yep, sure.
And
So,
to add on to kind of what John's asking, kind of an overview, the funding of it, and just a real brief overview so we understand where these grants come from. and where-
Sure. This is funded through our table games money. And to kind of explain the whole process for you, I'm going to bring Sarah up. Some of you know her, some of you don't. I feel like it's nice to get some other members of our department out. Sarah Ortiz is one of our grant specialists, and she's the person in the office that handles both the EMS and the Grow Norco. So I'll have her give you an overview.
Good.
Good afternoon, everyone. I don't know off the top of my head the specific dates, but it was a 4-week period that we opened the grant cycle. We advertised via Facebook, our website, direct email. And essentially, it was open to all 501c3 or C4 volunteer fire departments or EMS organizations. The maximum grant award was up to $10,000, and we received 14 applications, and we are recommending funding them all fully. Any questions?
Yes.
Just quickly, who was on the review committee and how are the applications evaluated?
Oh, due to the timing and wanting to get this money out as quickly as possible, DCED staff did a review, and then administration also did a review.
Ms. Hefner?
And we just, from deciding who would get funded, I mean, we thought they were all valuable projects. So that's why we recommend funding them all.
Anything else, Mr. Kuzic?
Yeah, so we had more this is pretty rare. We had more money available than what was applied for, is that what you're saying?
We did, yeah. We had, as we get through Grow Norco, we actually had $300,000 budgeted for that, and the request came in under that, so we were just able to move money in the budget from one grant to another because it's still all table games money.
Okay.
To be able to fully fund these EMS grants.
The final comment, I mean, this emergency services is one of CCAP's priorities this year, and I think we do a wonderful job here of funding And I know my township does a terrific job as well, but the biggest problem is manpower. You know, these were once, you know, great social organizations for local municipalities. Now it's getting harder and harder for volunteers. So, you know, kudos for getting the money out there, but yeah, the recruitment continues to be a struggle for a lot of these volunteer organizations. Thanks.
Is there anything else? Anybody else? Yes.
Were they required to match in any way, or?
Oh, yes, I'm sorry, it's a dollar for dollar match.
So the down payment, and then they're required to come up with the rest?
Mhm.
What about, I guess it's more about the fire company, like are these fire companies independent? Are they aligned or funded by their own municipalities? Are there any requirements or requests about that? Because I know some changes going on in Lower Saucon.
I think Lamont McClure, Bethlehem Township, I think they're independent to be directly responsive to your question in the sense that they're volunteer as opposed to the cities who have professional departments, right? So they get their people power from the citizenry. Many of the municipalities, to further amplify your question, many of their municipalities do contribute to them. But so as not to be, they're not part of their government de jure, although de facto in some municipalities, it's pretty close to being part of their
A
government.
lot of deeds in there.
But they're independent. Did I get that right?
So I guess my follow-up to that would be, if say except Easton, the Easton Emergency Squad is not part of Easton City?
No, that's their ambulance service.
Okay.
I mean, they're,
So anybody here is not city funded
No.
or
They're not a
funded?
profession, yeah, correct.
Is that it?
Oh, my God.
Thank you. I just, refresh my memory, we just started this emergency medical grant service last year. So we don't have a separate, so to speak, pot of money for them. We work through the Grow Norco, and this is like a sub, or does this have its own separate amount of percentage?
No, this has its own separate pot for the budget for EMS grants.
Okay, I thought I heard you say you rolled over.
Grow Norco also has a separate line item, but it's still under table games money. So if we fall short in one, we can just filter it to the other, which is what we did in this case. We felt it was important for the EMS community just because of the hardships that they're also facing with the pandemic.
Great, so just in my head, we have two pots of money, but these pots can be interchanged.
Yes.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Yes,
Just
Mr.
to
Kuzo.
follow up, Mr. Lott, we used to have an authority that received monies from the casino, and they distributed much of this money through a grant process that they had established. Now, it was much more favorable for Bethlehem and its surrounding municipalities, but I think the spirit of what they did was excellent, and I think that what we're trying to do here is continue that, and I think it's a good thing. And, you know, I'm just shocked that we didn't have more applications, given the amount of funding that we did have available.
Well,
They
is it,
didn't know that though,
Wait.
right?
what's that?
Did they know what we had available?
Yeah, we did our communication. We did a presentation for the first time last year at the 911 center with everybody. And we actually did have some new applications for this year that we didn't have last year. So I think the word's getting out there, and I foresee it continuing to grow.
Yes, Mr. Smith.
No, not for the EMS one. Though we're going to be doing a second round for Grow Norco. Correct, yes. Correct.
So in the Grow Norco in the second round, is that specifically for EMS or for like, it doesn't matter,
That's for any nonprofit.
any nonprofit, right? So a volunteer fire company could necessarily apply for that if they miss this round.
Yes. Yes.
Thank you. Is there any other questions on the emergency medical service grants? Seeing none, I'd like to move the resolution forward. Thank you. The next thing we have to discuss is the fiscal year 2021 Grow Norco Grant Round 1.
This one you could see, you have the list of the awards here as well. Again, the recommendation is to fully fund everybody who has applied, totaling to the amount of $183,713.
I think the overview they gave us before is the same, but if you want to kind of give us an overview, if there's any difference with this and, you know, how it was selected, just kind of the quick, same rundown.
Sure, Sarah, you want to do that one again?
For Grow Norco Round 1, we specifically targeted smaller nonprofits. So we were looking for nonprofits who had gross receipts under $3 million. And they were allowed to target this money towards operations and capital improvements. And part of the intent was to try to hit some of those smaller nonprofits that didn't receive any PPP money. Again, it was a 4-week application period. I think this one opened a week after EMS. They kind of closed a week apart. This one had a maximum award of $15,000. And again, we kind of went through the same process from a timeliness perspective. DCED staff reviewed, and so did admin. So yeah, it kind of followed that same process that we did for EMS.
Thank you. Is there any questions?
Yeah.
John?
First, a concern and then a question. One of the things that's often come up here is whether or not these grants should go towards salaries, because these groups will put somebody on salary and there's no guarantee from year to year that, you know, that the grant will be, you know, there's no guarantee.
Available,
And
right.
I hope that they know that, because that, you know, we wind up being blamed if somebody gets laid off, and I hate to see that. And then the second one, I think you mentioned about there being a $3 million, was that your
For their
threshold?
gross receipts, to determine the size of the nonprofit.
Yeah, and I guess my question then would be, the Levitt Pavilion steel stacks, does that qualify under that guideline?
Oh.
Arts Quest, doesn't that fall under
Well,
Arts Quest?
it's not, it's the same family, but the Levitt Pavilion is a separate 501c3. It is not legally a part of Arts Quest.
Huh.
So, yes.
Okay.
I can vouch for that. When it was being built, I found that out. Any other questions? Okay, do I have a motion to move this resolution forward?
Second.
John. Okay, is there any other discussion from the committee? Seeing none, we'll move these two resolutions forward for our general meeting, and seeing no other business, meeting will be adjourned. Thank you. How you doing?
I'm like looking for S and I'm like,
Who, Tina?
all right.
Oh, that happens to me. I'm starting to think I'm getting.